Jim Moran, and thanks very much for joining us for A Process for Protection. You can reach me at jim@simplifyiso.com or over here on our website with this handy contact button. ISO 9001 2015 Clause 6.1 talks about determining risks and opportunities and having some way to mitigate them. So it can be a daunting task with an organization as big as yours or as small as yours, figuring out exactly where the risks might be. First of all, let's talk about the definition of risk. It is the effect of uncertainty, and it's never possible to be completely risk-free. The other side of the risk coin is the opportunity, and that's a situation or condition favorable to meeting a goal. And it's important that when we approach this issue of risk management, we do so strategically or logically or in a sort of a process approach, if you will. You can see here in this diagram that we'd be talking about creating a risk process with the process flow in mind. So following along the workflow is the most logical way to proceed, of course. Look for weaknesses. Look for places where things can go wrong. And at the same time, of course, by adjusting the weakness, you will be creating your opportunities. You'll notice in this flow chart, they've got some spots here where they've identified a little R at the top left-hand corner of these boxes. Those are where they felt risk is important or risk is present for quality. In this particular case here, they've added trees or some kind of environmental symbol to indicate that there's an environmental risk at this point. You'll also see in this diagram over here their symbol for quality. So when you take a look at the Ishikawa fish diagram that we're all so familiar with, you can see that this could also give you a starting place. If you had no idea where to begin, you could start with, in this particular case, working conditions. That's also work environment, clause 7.1.4. Raw materials, that would be coming from your purchasing, 8.4. Management, 5.1. Technology and machine, both of those would fit into clause 7.1.3 infrastructure. Then of course workers, 7.1.2 and 7.2 competence. On the left hand end of this arrow, you might be talking about inputs as well. Their measurements are another thing you may want to consider. So when we take into account all of the areas that Ishikawa identified in the 60s, we add in a process flow. Now we're in a position to build risk assessment into our internal audits. You'll notice that the activity from the flowchart we looked at can go into this box here, and then while you're assessing that activity, you can ask the auditee about the risks associated and record a score here. We've chosen 1 to 5. 1 and 2 would be a non-conformance, 3 and 4 would be an opportunity for improvement, and 5 would be okay. So this would give you an opportunity to put a quantitative value, if you chose to how well risk was being managed, and that would give you the assurance that you have at least addressed risk where it could live. So if we look at the overall process we want to create, we would start with following your flowcharts. Then we'd move on during the following of the flowcharts to look for weaknesses, mark the danger points, figure out how to assess risk management during your internal audits, and then based on the scores that you gave it, you could get an improvement program happening to your risk management activities. Perhaps you'd like to join us for our free webinar on June 29th, 2020 at noon Eastern Daylight Time. You'll see a link down below the video to sign up for the webinar, and we have an opportunity there for you to ask questions through the chat box. Thanks very much for having a look, and I hope you can join us next time for get your assets in gear. Bye for now.